Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel, I'm for Classic and welcome to BenchART. So for today what I do have in it is Chronos Before the Ashes. This game it is developed by the Gunfire Games and it is using Unreal Engine 4. So in case you don't know, Gunfire Games, these guys are the developers behind Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition, Darksiders 3. Also, the most recent project of them it was Remnants from the Ashes, and this one it is Chronos Before the Ashes. I will tell you a little bit more forward into the video about this coincidence. So first of all, the settings that I'm running this on my Intel UHD 620. This is 720p. And for the tests that I have done, I did use, and my recommendation it is median settings, but my resolution quality or resolution scaling it was set to high. I do recommend you to use normal, or I'm going to use normal in here because of the recording, because when recording these have more impact. So at no surprise, looking to the requirements, there are no mentions in here about an Intel UHD graphic card, only AMD and Nvidia. So that's why I'm here for you. So this is the results. So at 720p using low settings, which don't use it, it looks horrible. The shadows looks completely broken and everything feels off. So just don't use low settings. Despite it provides an average of 49 and there was 0% of frames under 30 frames per second, just don't use it. Median settings, it did drop below 30 frames per second, but it was just 5% of the time. So that's why I decided to use resolution scaling. In this case, it is called anti-aliasing quality. I decided to use the high, which is the same thing as 90% of resolution scaling, and I only got 1% of the time a drop under 30 frames per second. So for this video I decided to go with normal on the anti-aliasing quality, which stands for 80% of 720p. This should be something like playing at 576p. Alright, it looks bad, but I think as usual Unreal Engine always does a great job using their resolution scaling. So I'm locking the frame rate in here to 30, mostly because temperatures, I have issues with temperatures when I'm using my Intel UHD 620, unfortunately, and so I decided that for consistency and better temperatures, I do lock at the target frame rate that I'm trying to achieve. So I just lock the game to the 30 frames per second, and throughout the rest of the game it will be locked at 30 frames per second. Right? So that's the performance that you can expect for the rest of the video. At the unlocked, you got the results before on those graphs. That's the performance you will get if you don't lock the frame rate. So I don't think there is too much more to talk about this. So I will jump just straight forwards into what is this game about. Alright, I will talk a little bit about the game. Chronos Before the Ashes, it's a Souls-like game, and it steals some elements from Dark Souls. It is a little bit more clunky though, so this might be a little bit disappointing in that regard. People say that the game it is super clunky, but I feel that most people are exaggerating a bit, unless forward into the game it gets worse. I don't really know. One of the top features of the game, and this is the selling point of this game, I can't stress this enough, this is the major selling point of this game, it is the character's age. I mean, you start your character with 18 years old, and every time you die inside the game, your character gets older by 1 year. So you start the game with 18 years old, you just died, and then when you restart, you get your character with 19 years old. So your character gets old every time you die. Good luck with that. At first, I thought this was a bad thing, but in case of this game, it actually is a good thing, because the older you get, the more access to skills and stuff to the character you get. At first, it is easy to evolve agility and strength because you are, a young boy, but the older you get, the harder it gets to evolve agility, and the game tries to force you to make you learn arcane because you are now older and wiser, And obviously you don't get, it is not easier to get agility evolved. I think it's an interesting concept and something really unique, but honestly I haven't seen people very enthusiastic about this, and in my honest opinion I think it could be implemented in a much better way though. The game also features some interesting puzzles inside the game, but according to some users, after mid-game they just drag and start to become something like boring fetch quests. Although at start they are pretty good and it's a good fresh air to the genre. As for the maps, they aren't really inspiring at all. And I'm not really talking about the graphics. This game, it isn't pushing the graphics that much. They don't make usage of high-end features from Unreal Engine 4, and I'm absolutely fine with that 100%. The thing is, the art style of the maps, they are not really memorable. They are just a bunch of corridors with some details, and well, that's pretty much about it. The game story, if you don't like the gameplay, might be what really keeps you inside the game, but above all, to not spoil you, this is a prequel from the Remnant game. And well, the objective it is really just to kill a dragon. Essentially, the dragon it is summoning monsters, and that's about it. You go and kill the dragon, and that's it. That's mainly the story. Of course, there will be a ton of lore and details inside the game, but I can't really tell you about it. Still, I do enjoy the game. It's not the best Souls game out there for sure, but at least it is not a straight copy. It has some nice puzzles, the age mechanic, it's very lightweight and optimized, so if you have an old hardware you can really run it as you saw on my videos. And it's not totally expensive, you can get it by the time of this video for $29.99, so it's not cheap and not expensive. I think it's a good price. Metacritic it is also around 72, so it's rather acceptable. But Steam community have a very mixed feeling about the game, because you know there is a thing about this game. Chronos Before the Ashes, it is not exactly a new game. It is actually a port from the original Chronos, which was released like 3 or 4 years ago. And this game was specifically made for VR. So the fact that you are buying a game that it is non-VR and it's a port from a VR game with 40 years old, I mean, and they are charging you $29.99 for a game with 40 years old, which was not specifically done for this. I mean, it's a little bit complicated to recommend. And I think that for some part, some people are complaining about that. But the other part, it is really the uninspiring combats, the uninspired enemies, and the maps overall. And the fact that some people complain a little bit about the combat gameplay, they don't like it. For me it was fine though, but I do understand that it is not at the same level as a Dark Souls, for example. So if you played Remnant recently, this will feel like a very big step back for you in that regard, alright? So I think that's all that I want to talk about Chronos Before the Ashes. Hope you keep enjoying the rest of the gameplay, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
Brings an outsider to these forsaken halls. Destroy the dragon. 'Tis a fool's errand, especially in the wake of the woeful encounter between the king and the Cyclops. You may as well throw yourself upon your blade. Listen here, Paleskin. Those blasphemous priests took my most valuable piece and used it to build a false Cyclops. Sheerest idolatry. But the vile, cursed golem they created is too powerful for me to challenge. Although, if you were to retrieve the golem's eye for me, I would use it to forge a weapon. A weapon I would give to you freely.
Hmm.